Greetings, and welcome to A Year of Movies, a Planet Geek production. For this project, we are using the Ivan Walters reference book of 365 films to watch on the day they happened. Each day, we watch a movie associated with the date we are watching it on. And as it is the 19th of February, we are going to be watching You've Got Mail from 1998, directed by Nora Ephron and starring Tom Hanks. So to get right into the beginning of this, I am not 100% sure. Going into watching this movie, I'm not 100% sure if I've actually seen this movie. Kind of weird to say this in the way that I'm going to bring it out, but I do, at the time, know that I was really big into wanting to see a lot about movies, how they're made, finding out who the stars are, who's directed it, where it's being filmed, and whatnot. And this being the third coupling of Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks, it was big in the media. There was articles about it being put out through television all the time on the entertainment shows, and I was really into those sort of things. So every once in a while there would be an article with Tom and Meg being interviewed about the filming of their movie and all that. And when the movie came out, it was a big deal and whatnot. But as I sat down to start to watch this movie, I had the sinking feeling that I've never seen this movie before. But it's kind of weird because I sort of watched the movie, felt like a little bit of a deja vu sort of watch. I knew the beats of the movie. I knew who all the actors were. I did know how the story played out. It seemed like I was seeing everything for the first time, but nothing was new. So it's kind of like I did watch the movie, but either I didn't retain it originally or I just hadn't watched it before. But that being said, this movie does star Tom Hanks, Meg Ryan, Parker Posey, Jean Triplehorn, Craig Kinnear, Stephen Zahn, and Dabney Coleman. And again, we're dealing with a romantic movie where it's kind of interesting to see the different twist of what they did from originally Sleepless in Seattle. The previous Nora Ephron movie that had Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks in a relationship sort of situation. It was really fun to watch these two top-notch actors doing what they are best known for. Being sincere, being quirky, being comical. And again, we're backing up these fantastic actors with fantastic co-stars and tertiary characters and actors and whatnot. And everyone just plays up to the maximum that they can. But again, like I said at the beginning, it was a weird watch for me because as I'm watching this, everything looks familiar. But again, movies from the 90s that took place in New York all looked like this. All the streets looked the same. The shots kind of looked all the same. Nothing seemed really stand outish and all that. But it just looked like every other movie, no matter what the genre, as long as it was in New York City, it kind of looked like this. It just was weird to watch. It's a very entertaining movie. It's cool to see these two actors doing the whole entire relationship thing yet again, but completely different from what they had done before. Now, at one point, one does find out who the other one's because they're anonymous emails back and forth that they found each other in a chat room and then started emailing, and that's where you get the whole entire, you got mail. However, at one point, Tom Hanks' character of Joe, which is the second time he's played a Joe character with Meg Ryan as his co-star, but when Joe finds out that the girl that he's been talking to, shopper girl, turns out to be kind of his business rival in the situation that this movie plays out of Kathleen, played by Meg Ryan, he sort of plays a bit of a catfish sort of role, but not full out. After the initial not working out of their very first meeting, where Joe then goes into sort of almost kind of mock Kathleen in the restaurant where they're supposed to meet. The next day, Kathleen's co-workers at her bookstore are trying to console her as to why this mystery man, NY 152, did not show. And after they come up with a couple explanations, it's actually Steve Zahn who brings the daily newspaper to her, claiming that the rooftop killer had been stopped that previous evening. And that is the explanation they came up for why he turns out he was the rooftop killer. And the paper itself is dated February 19th, 1998, and that happens about an hour and 9 minutes into this hour and 59-minute movie. And as it is the 20th of February, we are going to be watching The Matrix from 1999, directed by the Wachowski brothers and starring Keanu Reeves. So to begin with, there is no way that I would not have missed this movie. I've actually seen this movie quite a few times, not only in its original opening run. I believe I had actually seen it on its opening weekend and fell in love with it right away. I've seen it several times over the decades that this movie has been out, and also its subsequent sequels as well. So that being said, like I said, this movie stars Keanu Reeves, Hugo Weaving, Joe Pantoliano, Julian Arnara, Anthony Ray Parker, and Marcus Chong. Now, to put this right now, I am in this here and now aware of the fact that they are no longer Wachowski brothers, but now known as the sisters. I'm just going with what is currently within the movie that I saw. That being said, this movie is one of those movies that sticks with you from the moment you see it. I saw it in my late 20s, and it really made an impact with me because of the place I was in my life. I had met a lot of new friends at the time, and we all got together to see this movie, and everyone loved this movie. There was nothing wrong with this movie. There really isn't anything wrong with this movie. I mean, you can pick apart tiny little details, but all in all, this is a fantastically done movie. Not only does it have a fantastic cast, but it is so beautifully shot. It is so... The special effects are fantastic. The stunts are amazing. The sets, the stunts, it's just so beautifully put together a movie. And after years and years of seeing several videographies of how stuff is done and how this scene was shot and how they put this together and whatnot, doesn't really mean anything because it still looks as spectacular as it did in 1999 as it does today in 2026. Just a fantastic, fun time. So it's Keanu coming into his own, the showing of him becoming an action star, like an actual action star. This, without a doubt, is the groundlings for his portrayal of his later role of John Wick. The amount of training, knowing that went into it. Again, your cast doing the exact same thing. Lawrence Fishburne and Carrie-Anne Moss doing just amazing hand-to-hand combat. Hugo Weaving playing a perfect foil in this story. And it's just it's just a feast for the eyes. Without a doubt, the best of the entire series. And of course, that usually happens when you get into multiple movies, that usually the first one is turns out to be the best out of the series. And nothing against the other ones. The other ones are very entertaining to begin with. But this original version of this movie is just super fantastic. And if you've gone this far in your life and you have not seen this movie, do yourself a favor. Pull up this movie, and it is a fantastic, fun ride. So at the very beginning of the movie, about 11, 12 minutes into the beginning of this 2 hour and 16-minute movie, Thomas Anderson, who is Keanu Reeves, later to be called Neo, starts his day on February 20th, 1998. So this movie did go on to win a couple of Academy Awards for that particular year, including Best Film Editing, Best Sound Effects, and Best Visual Effects. All right, and as this is the 21st of February, we are going to be watching Malcolm X from 1992, directed by Spike Lee and starring Denzel Washington. So to begin with, I definitely want to put out there that I am a very big fan of both Denzel Washington and Spike Lee. try to see almost every single thing that these gentlemen are involved with. And 90% of the time, you're going to really enjoy what you're watching. As it comes to this movie, however, I did not see this movie, I think, until its early run on home video. I'm pretty sure I saw it on DVD, so that'll set off when that was, but like early on. However, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that in its entirety, I've probably only seen this movie once prior to just watching it. Now, I have seen it in bits and pieces, occasionally catching sequences, flipping through channels and whatnot, and finding myself sitting there watching the movie for like 45 minutes before I realized, oh, I was doing something else, sort of thing. Yeah, so that being said, not only does this movie star Denzel Washington, but it also stars Angela Bassett, Albert Hall, Al Freeman Jr., Spike Lee, Bobby Seale, Al Sharpton, and Christopher Plummer. Now, this, as like several other movies on this particular list that I'm dealing with, is another biography, and this one deals with probably the longest stretch of anyone's history involved in the movie. A lot of the other stuff has been mostly like musical documentaries, biographies, where we are in a small little town section of their life and all that sort of thing. But this deals with a wide range of Malcolm Little's life. Now, this is a beautifully done tribute to this man of substantial point in history. Spike Lee does a fantastic job putting across this emotional and very sometimes hard to watch movie. But in a good way. The cast is stellar, and again, you're front loading it with Denzel Washington and Angela Bassett, and you can't not but be overwhelmed with the talent just flowing off the screen. There is just such an emotional pull to the center of this movie, and it is a bit of a long movie, but there is by no doubt any reason why it should be any shorter. There is so much involved in telling the story of this man, of Malcolm X's story, and every minute on the screen is earned to be there. I'm sure there was a lot more that they had to cut out, but within reason, this movie is just a fantastic watch, and just such a culturally significant piece of media for not only of the time, but even for now. I mean, you could say that at any time in the existence of this movie, any time in the existence of the knowledge of Malcolm X himself. Spike Lee does a fantastic job of funneling all of that into this epic movie to witness. And when it comes to the date set into this particular movie, unfortunately, it falls upon February 1st, 1965, which is about 2 hours and 56 minutes into this 3 hour and 22 minute where Malcolm X is murdered. And that year at the Academy Awards, it got nominated for Best Actor for obviously Denzel Washington and Best Costume Design. And as it is the 22nd of February, we are going to be watching Miracle from 2004, directed by Gavin O'Connell and starring Kurt Russell. So to get this out there, to begin with, I personally am not a big fan of sports movies, especially those ones that are quote-unquote based on a true story. Now, that doesn't mean I haven't watched these movies. I have seen quite a few that are actually quite good, and this movie is one of those. But for the most part, I'm not a big fan of them to begin with, no matter what the genre is. That being said, this particular movie, like I mentioned, stars Kurt Russell, as well as Patricia Clarkson, Noah Emmerich, Eric Peter Kaiser, Eddie Cahill, Kenneth Walsh, Sean McCann, and Bobby Henson. This is a movie about the 1980s men's Olympic hockey team. Like I said before, this is based on a true story. These are actual people and players that were involved in the situation. The movie does an interesting thing by starting off with showing the progression of history of the political world according to America in its opening credits. Starts off showing a bunch of sequences and political talking heads as it leads up to the beginning of the movie, where we're introduced to Herb Brooks, who is the gentleman that the committee has brought in to see if he is capable of creating a team of athletes to go up against the Soviets in the upcoming Olympics. It's kind of funny how a movie centered around an American central story. It's all rah, wave the flag sort of eventually. Technically, we're all for the USA. How in this opening introduction, you're introduced to about 80% Canadian actors. Instantly, I couldn't resist, pulled up my Google search, and turns out this American film is filmed in British Columbia, so hence the very Canadian supporting cast, and how it all was like filmed at different arenas around British Columbia to simulate the Olympics and all the other places that this team goes to leading up to the Olympics. Now, I'm a fan of Kurt Russell. I really enjoy Kurt Russell's work, and he does a fantastic job of being this single-minded coach, knowing what has to be done and not deferring at all from his plan. Although his young team obviously are resistant at first, eventually going from a bunch of individuals with skills into a team of skills. And it's the way the thing goes. And of course, through history, we know what actually happens and whatnot with the Olympics for that particular year. But it's a lot of montage footage. It's a lot of, when you're not on the rink, you're dealing with how his home life is affected by this career that he's chosen. After being a former hockey player to begin with, now becoming a coach of sorts. And in the movie, it is February 22nd, 1980, about 1 hour and 35 minutes into this 2 hour and 15-minute movie that they end up winning against the Soviet team, but which leads into like kind of an anticlimactic ending when they win gold against Finland. And as it is the 23rd of February, we are going to be watching Sands of Iwo Jima from 1949, directed by Alan Dwan and starring John Wayne. As I had mentioned earlier in this series of movies that I have not seen pretty much a good portion of John Wayne's filmography, and this would be one of the ones that I have not seen. I am aware of this movie. I do know of John Wayne taking part in this movie and what the movie entails and all that sort of thing, but this is my first time that I am actually seeing this movie. So like I already mentioned, it not only stars John Wayne, but it also stars John Agar, Julie Bishop, Forrest Tucker, Arthur Franz, Adele Mara, and Wally Castle. So the movie deals with a Marine Sergeant, John Stryker, who is played by John Wayne, and he works with this squad of Marines that he's trying to train. They really butt head with his authoritarianism, not really liking him, especially like a couple of the other ones that actually have outstanding gripes towards him. But it is a very well documented like feel of what has happened during the Pacific War. The movie goes as far to actually show actual footage that was actually taking place during the actual war itself, which at the time of release of this movie, it was in 1949. It was still really recent as the events happened. And again, it's your typical movie where we have ragtag group of individuals that eventually come together to form a cohesive team under the command of Stryker. They go off, have a mostly successful first encounter as the Marines land on Tarawa. We then progress a little further on, and then we eventually end up with a lot closer to our actual date, whereas the squad lands on Iwo Jima under Stryker's command, where his team is ordered to raise the flag on Mount Suribachi on February 3rd, 1945, which is about an hour and 40 minutes into this 1 hour and 50-minute movie. One of the really cool things is, again, well, they did use actual combat footage. The flag used in the scene on Mount Suribachi is the actual flag used in the famous photo, and it was on loan from the Marines for the purposes of this film. Now, this movie did get some Academy Award recognition. It got a nomination for Best Actor for John Wayne, Best Sound Recording, Best Film Editing, and Best Original Screenplay. And as it is the 24th of February, we're going to be watching The Alamo from 2004, directed by John Lee Hancock and starring Dennis Quaid. So to begin with, right out of the bat, this is the first time I'm actually watching this movie. I thought I had seen it before, but when the movie started rolling, I'm all like, probably because I've seen like other versions of this movie, but not this particular version. The cast had looked familiar, and what I saw from the trailer looked kind of familiar, but it might be just having seen the trailer so many times, and maybe I'd seen scenes throughout, just flipping through channels at the time when the movie came out, or after it was available for regular watch on television. So obviously, until now, I did not realize that I hadn't seen this movie. So like I had mentioned earlier, the movie does star Dennis Quaid as well as Jordi Molia, Billy Bob Thornton, Jason Patric, Mark Blucas, Patrick Wilson, and Emilio Echevarria. Now, there have been plenty of movies that have dealt with the Alamo sequence from history, as this movie is its central focus. This is also a more kind of in-depth, more realistic angle of the 1960s version, which is the version I have seen. I have seen that one before, but this one is a lot more grittier and a lot more, obviously we're dealing with decades difference in filming technique and just the way movies are done. But this one has a really cool, like, wannabe blockbuster sort of feel. It has a lot of dramatic camera work. It has some really cool action, some really nice costuming and set design. We're dealing with a great handful of actors that work really well together. It's kind of weird that Dennis Quaid gets top billing, probably just because it was Dennis Quaid, but mostly like Jason Patric, Billy Bob Thornton, and Patrick Wilson spend a good majority of the time as like the core part of this story. Whereas in this story, we have Jason Patric portraying James Bowie, with his customary oversized Bowie knife. And of course, if you don't know, Billy Bob Thornton plays Davy Crockett. And running out the trio is William Barrett Travis, who's played by Patrick Wilson. So as history plays out, the Texans hold up in the Alamo once the forces of Santa Anna shows up, and they basically have them pretty much pinned down. Prior to this point, both Travis and Bowie are butting heads on who's actually leading the men under their leadership. It gets to the point where eventually they reconcile. And on the February 14th, 1836, and to prove his skills, once the Mexican troops push themselves forward towards the walls of the Alamo, Davy Crockett takes a targeted shot at their leader, Santa Anna, tearing off his, clipping his uniform. And that all happens at 46 minutes into this 2 hour and 17-minute movie. And as it is the 25th of February, we are going to be watching Ali from 2001, directed by Michael Mann and starring Will Smith. So being a big fan of Will Smith to begin with, very talented gentleman. In pretty much almost anything he does, he's definitely the reason to be there, to witness his wide range of acting abilities. This was a very big momentous movie to begin with. Everything that went into the production and the release of this movie, a very big highlight of portraying such a big personality to begin with in this biopic. So that being said, like I mentioned, this movie does star Will Smith as well as Jon Voight, Jamie Foxx, Ron Silver, Mario Van Peebles, Jada Pinkett Smith, and LeVar Burton. So just to get this out there, this particular movie takes place, this biopic takes place in the span of 10 years between 1964 and 1974. Well, to begin with, it starts off with Cassius Clay, deals with Malcolm X, and then him becoming Muhammad Ali, and then his trouble with the government about being drafted, and then eventually ending on the note that the movie does. This movie is, just from what I said of the opening cast, is just a fraction of the amazing talent that is involved in this movie. And they are so nicely peppered throughout the whole entire film. One of my favorite things is, I believe the first time that I'd seen the movie, I knew of a particular actor that was in the movie, but it wasn't until the closing credits that I realized that under all the Howard Cosell makeup was Jon Voight. One of the other things is that I noticed during this movie is there's a lot of pretty good impressions going on. Like, Will Smith does a really good impression of doing Muhammad Ali, especially when he's doing his speeches, when he's talking to the public, when he's in the ring with his going up against his opponents and all that sort of thing, but then sort of drops off. So it's kind of hard to, obviously Muhammad Ali was never on all the time, every single moment of his life. So it was nice to see that even at times in his own private life, the showman of Muhammad Ali would come out every once in a while. But it's Jon Voight's impression of Howard Cosell that sort of, like I said, on an original viewing, like blew me away. Like, I did not realize that that was him under there. And he does a half-decent impression of Howard Cosell, which is always hard to do when, especially when you're dealing with two iconic people. I mean, this movie deals with iconic people throughout the whole entire thing. Like I said, there's Malcolm X involved in this whole entire series. There's Martin Luther King Jr. is involved in this. It's just like a fantastic array of characters from history being portrayed wonderfully by these this slew of actors. Now, at the very beginning of this movie, we start off with a fight where Cassius Clay goes up against Sonny Liston. And that is the match that takes place on February 25th, 1964, which is about almost 9 minutes into the movie that is 2 hours and 37 minutes long. And at that year's Academy Awards, it did get recognition for nominations for Best Actor for Will Smith and Best Supporting Actor for Jon Voight. So that being said, we're going to finish off this episode and look off into tomorrow to see what movie we're going to be seeing for February 26th, and that's going to be Selena from 1997. So until next time, go see a movie. This has been A Year of Movies, a Planet Geek production. Please be sure to subscribe, download, comment, share, rate, and review. Once again, another thanks to Ivan Walters for his book, A Year of Movies, 365 films to watch on the day they happened. Look for it online or at your local bookstore. Follow Planet Geek Productions on all of our social media. Through Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Tumblr, and Letterboxd, search for Planet Geek Productions. On X, former Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky, search for Planet Geek Pod. You can also reach out to us through email at planetgeekpod@gmail.com. Once again, thanks for tuning in, and until next time, go see a movie.